Alright, so let's get started with the factors that cause poor listening performance or performances by test takers during their listening test. So we have these 5 factors on the board. The first one here is language barrier. So why is language barrier a factor that affects our performance in listening tests? This is simply because English is not your mother language. It's not your mother tongue. It's not your native language. It is a borrowed language. So in some countries, English is their lingua franca. We know what lingua franca means? Your official language. Now, that simply means you have your own native dialects, your native languages. And by default, when there is an existing factor that is naturally provided, if there is an opposite or opposing or contradicting factor that is trying to come in, that natural will always try to pick against it. So this is the reason a lot of people, when they speak English, you don't hear the English as the true native speaker's English. You hear it sounding something with some form of mother tongue from the background. If you listen to the Indians speak English, you will hear something like, "Oh, God bless you, just a little time I will be there, namaste." Because their own natural language accent is affecting the English. If you come to Nigeria where you have the Igbos, the Hausas, the Yorubas, you're hearing different accents while the English is being spoken. So language is a barrier. Secondly, language being a barrier is or plays a role because when they listen to the native speakers through the audio that they listen to, they realize that the way the person speaks the English is totally different from what they know. So it becomes a challenge for them to understand exactly and completely whatever the audio is saying. So that's one major factor. Another reason people have poor performance in their listening test is because of accent. Now, accent has to do with syllables being applied, stress patterns being applied, modulations being applied while speaking English. So you hear people like, I'm speaking this English with my mother tongue interfering. But I try as much as possible to use the right grammar and see how I can pronounce words correctly. But I don't have the accent of the native English speakers. Do you understand? So when the native English speaker speaks, you get to hear accents that may begin to bring some level of confusion that you will start doubting whether what you heard is exactly what was pronounced. Right? So it is a very serious factor for test takers during their listening test. Now the third one right here is the speaking pace. Speaking pace has to do with how fast they speak. You know, while I speak my English, I'm trying not to be fast because I don't want to commit grammatical errors. So I reduce and manage my pace, so I choose my right words and the right pronunciation. But the native speakers, it is the only language they speak. So they are always very fast and fluent in their spoken English. Now, because of how fast they speak during the audio and during listening tests, most test takers tend to be confused. They don't catch up with the pace of the audio. So in most cases, they don't even know when the audio gives the answer. They don't even know when or where the audio is treating at some point. They get lost. Now the fourth one here is enunciation. Enunciation has to do with the choice of words that native speakers use during listening tests via the audio. So most times you read a question, you get to see the words written in the question, but when the audio begins to play, you would realize that the words the audio uses is not exactly what you have read. Sometimes you are wondering, where is this audio treating? It is not like you are not seeing the words and you are not hearing the audio, but you didn't realize or expect that the audio would paraphrase what you have read. So audio uses synonyms. The synonyms of those keywords that you have read to read those questions. At the end of the day, the audio also expresses the same information you have on the question, but not the exact words you are seeing. So their enunciation affects candidates, test takers, in their performance. Now, lastly, we have pronunciation. Now, when I write, when you saw this spelling, or when you see this spelling, do you think it's correct? Pronunciation, is it correct? Is that what you wrote? Huh? Are you sure you wrote the same thing as what I wrote? Did you write pronunciation on the board? Exactly what I have. Is that what you usually write? Yours usually come with O before you, right? Is there any such thing in the dictionary? In English word? Is there any such thing as pronunciation? So now, that's the problem. But when I say pronounce the word, that's where that OU comes. But when it has to do with pronunciation, there is no O here. Please correct this. Right? In the listening test, the native English speaker, through the audio that you listen to, pronounce their words in ways that you are not familiar with. So in most cases, you don't even realize that that's the word that was pronounced. So you spell something totally different, whereas the pronunciation is something else. So that spelling is contrary to the pronunciation you've gotten. And what happens at the end? You have the wrong answer because of the wrong spelling. So all of these things often affect test takers on the day of their exam. Then lastly, what seriously makes test takers to have very poor performance is concentration. Concentration. Most humans have very short concentration span. A lot of people have very short concentration span. That if there is any slightest distraction, they are off. Before they come back, a lot of answers must have gone by. Some persons also distract themselves by themselves. How? You could just be writing something and you zoom off. You know, it happens. Sometimes you are looking at somebody, but you are not actually seeing that person. Your mind is elsewhere. You have traveled to your village. Right? It happens in IELTS test. So please, you need to build your concentration span. It is just about 35 to 40 minutes. That's all. Within 35 to 40 minutes, your listening test is over. So try to build your concentration span to be able to accommodate this short period of time, so that you are able to catch the whole gist from the audio. Because when you drift away, when you zoom off, when you teleport, you are actually going to miss answers. So please work on your concentration span. Then you should also understand that another reason people perform badly in their listening test is spellings. IELTS listening test also evaluates or tests your spelling ability. So if your spellings are bad, forget it. There is no such thing as, this guy is brilliant. So he got everything, just little errors, just small s that he added or didn't add. There's no such thing in IELTS. It's either you get it right or you get it wrong. Right? So you want to work on your spellings. Work on your spellings. Then, lastly is your ability to manage your tension. Ability to manage your tension. You know, some persons will tell you, I don't have tensions when I go places. It's a big lie. Every human has got some level of tension. If it's an exam that you are not familiar with, if it's a point where you are asked to come talk to an audience, If it's a moment you need to defend a particular thing, project or something, if it's a time you're going for interview, especially in an environment you don't know before, that tension will definitely visit. They'll come. But the difference is your ability to manage the tension. If you are taking the listening test and you have bad management of your nervousness or emotions, it definitely will mess a whole lot of things up. In fact, if care is not taken, your hands may even soak your answer sheet and it will see you have nothing to submit. Because a lot of people sweat when they are tensed. Right? Another thing, when you are tensed, you may not realize that where you're writing your answer is on the wrong number. And once you do that, any other thing you're going to be writing on that, it is totally wrong. It's not village people, it's your attention. You may also be listening to something, but because of tension, your brain will not process what you are hearing. That's why somebody will be talking to you. You are listening, but you are not here. Then when the person says, "What do you think?" you come back and say, "Sorry, please, don't be offended." Can you say it? Can you? You want the person to start over. So please, work on your concentration. Please, work on your concentration, work on your confidence, work on your listening ability. You need to work on the content you listen to. I said this 2 days ago, that for you to do well in listening tests or in IELTS generally, you need to work on your habits, your lifestyle, because it's not now that you start building listening skills. It's not now. You ought to have built listening skills before now. It's not now you're going to be building your spelling ability. You ought to have built your spelling skills before now. It's not now you're going to start building good English. And you don't know it. All your life, what you speak is street. You want to, French call it mélanger. You mix Igbo and English. And then that English is not even the right one, pidgin. And then you want to go for speaking test. If you're not careful, you won't know when you blow that pidgin to the examiner. You just shout, "Hey now!" You know. So you want to, it's a habit. What type of movies do you watch? It's a habit. What type of songs do you listen to? It's habits. So you want to really focus a lot more on podcasts. I said that the other day. Go and get podcasts to listen to, especially audio podcasts that you don't get to see the person, or you don't get to see any subtitles. So that if you're able to listen to the person and you are getting everything the person is saying, then you are getting prepared for the listening test. Don't go watching native English speakers' films or video content that come with subtitles. You are deceiving yourself. Because at the end of the day, your concentration is on reading what you're seeing, so that you'll be able to hear or understand what it's doing. So please, these are major ways you really want to catch and get prepared for a better performance. If you're able to work on all of these factors, including the ones I didn't list here, I can assure you that your listening test would improve remarkably. And you also need to intensify your practices. Don't just engage in 2, 3, 4 listening practices and you feel you're prepared. No. You need to engage. In fact, on a daily, I tell people, take on at least 2 listening tests every day. Practice 2 listening tests every day. That will help you to have a better result. Okay. Now let's go next to important keys you need to apply to help you have a better or a result, a positive result-oriented IELTS test, listening test to be precise. So we have right there on the board important keys that you should apply. These keys can be referred to as the 3 T's, and they include trick. This trick is also called the bracket trick. And then we'll have the tips, and lastly we have techniques. So let's look at all of these one after another.
No, you just take them.
Okay.
So to begin, let's work on what these T's are all about. The first is the trick. We know what trick is. When someone says there is a trick for something, you know what it means? When someone says there is a trick for something, what does it mean? Interest? Not really. When someone tells you that I have a trick to go about this thing, a pattern, okay? Pattern, not something. A solution in a way, but not a very formal one, right? It has to do with a way of maneuvering or manipulating something to achieve a desired goal. Is that correct? And there is a trick. It has to do with something that you want to manipulate in order to achieve a desired goal. Now, in listening test, there is a trick we apply. And that trick is called a bracket trick. What does bracket trick mean? It is the practice of putting in brackets a part of your answer that you're not so sure if it should be there. The bracket trick is the practice of putting in brackets a part of your answer that you're not so sure about if it should be there. Now, how does this play out? And how do you bring this in? Now, look at this. When you listen to an audio by a native English speaker, there are some words they pronounce. You may be so unsure if that word was pronounced in a singular form or in a plural form. You are perplexed, you are confused. The form of the word that you just heard. Is that word in singular or plural? I didn't hear so clearly. I'm not so sure. At that point, this is the solution to that. The bracket trick. Now, let's understand how to apply the bracket trick. For you to accurately and correctly apply the bracket trick, you must work hand in glove. You must work in accordance to instruction. Let's take, for instance, on the board there we have the instruction that states no more than one word and or in number. Write no more than one word and or in number. What does that mean? This is the type of instruction you get to see when you're taking your listening test. Is that correct?
Yes.
So when you come across this instruction, how might you interpret this instruction? What does it mean? No more than one word and a number. Madam, what do people think? No more than one word and a number. What do you think it means?
The answer should not be more than one word.
It shouldn't be more than one word. Do you agree with that?
I think a number goes with number. A number goes with number. Whenever you say A, you know that it's number that is the answer.
They are confusing our confusion.
Like A goes with number, like number, let me say 1, 2.
So A goes with something like this.
Yes.
A2.
Yes. My and is a word.
I'm confused.
You mean letter and number?
Yes.
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 A letter.
Letter
A
and
number.
no. A is a letter.
Yes.
When
Two.
Two now. Oh, is it what you mean? Or if you want to write
And
one?
is a letter. A is a number.
Number is one.
You said and is a letter.
Yes.
And is a letter.
I've forgotten. What can I call it? What can I call it?
I'm not confused.
What can I call it? Gift.
Sir.
Let me explain something. And I'll also ask all of us here, one after another. What is this?
A.
Hmm?
A. Is a letter.
A.
And is
A
a
letter.
letter. Yes.
What is this?
A.
A.
Is it a letter?
Is a letter.
What's this? Hmm?
It's A and is a sign. It's a sound. Yes.
Is it A and a sound at the same time?
No. It's a
Is
sound.
it a sound?
Yes.
A sound?
Yes.
This is a letter, this is a letter, right? Correct. Is this a word?
Yes.
A.
Is it a word?
It's a word.
Is it a word?
Yes. No.
It's not a word.
It's a word. It can be a word in the sentence.
Is it a word?
Yes.
Is it a word? Final answer?
Wait, when you make a sentence, okay, I want to get a ball. I want to get a ball. Or I went to get a ball is a sentence. The a ball. Eh? It's actually not okay, it's one letter. So it's when you add like 2 letters can make up the word. But in a sentence it looks like it's a word.
So, I'm asking you now, is it a word?
It's an alphabet. But I'm confused.
Jamaica,
But I feel it's a
what do you
word.
think? Is it a word?
Making a sentence is a word.
Is this a word? It's not a word. Rose, a letter? A letter? That's all. Please, what do you think it is?
It's a letter.
A letter? Yes. I think what's the gift? It's confusing. But what do you think?
It's a letter.
A letter? That's all. Just me, what do you think?
A single word.
It's a single word?
Yeah.
Yes.
Just a word? Hmm?
Letter.
Is a letter? It's no longer a word?
It's still a word.
Okay, so tell me, what do you make of these? See.
It's a letter and it can be a single word. Yes, you got it. I think that's
You have approved it.
No. That's the answer.
Madam, what do people think? Is it a word?
It's not a word.
Is it a letter? Alright, thank you so much for your contributions. So the truth is, this is a letter. Capital letter A and
Small letter.
small letter A. This is a word. 1, 2, 2. Is is a word. Is a one-letter word. Let me ask you. Is this a word?
Yes, it's a word.
Why is it a word now?
Because it's a one liter.
No, that is just like what I said earlier. Is a word
In a sentence.
in a sentence. Yes.
No. I'm not, there's no sentence here now.
Okay.
If your reason for making it a word is because it's in a sentence, so now it's not in a sentence, it's a word. Yes.
Yes, it's a word.
The word I is used to represent first person singular pronoun. I. This guy as a word is a quantifier. It indicates number. A boy, meaning one boy. Do you understand? English can be very anyhow, right? But you really need to understand some rudiments. Now, why I brought this is because of Gift's response. Gift, we're coming back to you now. Now, when you said to us that this instruction means that your answer can be a number, right? And it can, there's a way you were saying it, can you help us? All right, don't worry. Now, I will come back to you, don't worry. Miss Justina, how might you interpret this guy when you find it during your listening test? Write no more than one word and or a number. What does it mean?
Your answer will not be more than one word.
That's all? Thank you. My teacher. How might you interpret this guy?
Then it's not going to be more than one word and not also going to be more than one number.
That's another step further. That's real. Please, how might you interpret this guy when you find it on your question paper? What does it mean? What is it asking you to do or not to do?
In some places, when you answer a question, there's a place you're going to write a word, and if it's require a word there to be one word, and if it's one number you're supposed to write there, it must be one number.
Have you interpreted? Your own says, your interpretation says what?
It shouldn't be more than one word.
Thank you for the contribution. Now, all correct. Everyone's contribution perfect. But please understand that the full interpretation of this guy here means that your answer can be one word answer. It can be one word and a number answer. It can be just a number without a word. That's what this means. How? How do you know how? This is because when you are taking your listening test, and this is what the instructions stipulates. It simply means your answer can be, for instance, how many words do we have here?
It's one word.
One word? How many words do we have here? 2 words? 2 words? How many words do we have here? 1? How many words do we have here? How many words? How many words? How many words?
1.
Okay, so let me advise us. It's in IELTS, it can be down. Just calm down. So there is only one word here. This word is in a plural form, right? So just one word in a plural form. So here, this is what the audio has given you, one word. That's instruction, and this is correct. Here, can be one word, just one word and a number. One word, a number. Sorry, is this a number? Gift, is that a number?
Yes.
Is a number?
Yes.
Final answer.
Yes.
Final answer. Mary, is that a number? That one number?
Yes.
But I see one number.
It's a number.
It's a lie. Madam, what do you think?
It's a number.
This is confusing. No. Okay, let me ask us. How many numbers do we have here? Madam, how many numbers do we have there?
1,000.
It's one. Where? How many numbers do you have there? How many numbers?
4.
4. How many numbers? 4. Madam, how many numbers?
No. It's one number.
One number.
Yes.
Final answer.
Yes.
Give up. How many numbers?
It's one number.
Chairman, how many numbers?
If it's separated like 1,000 or 1,000 down, it will be 2 numbers. Then if it's single that way, it's only 1 number.
Please, let's say that again.
I said that is on board. 1,000 is there. And if there's any number down, like any written number under the 1,000, then it will be 2 numbers. But once it's that 1,000, only 1,000 you see there's 1 number.
Come back here. Come back to this last one now. How many numbers do we have here?
1.
What was confusing? I'll come back to this, your answers. Let me still draw further. How many numbers do we have here? Mary Rose?
It's 3.
Huh?
3.
3? Madam, what do you think?
It's one number.
Madam, one number. Final answer. Is that your final answer?
This is one number, but it is 7 figures. It's a 7-figure number.
So how many numbers do you have?
1.
Simple. Jerick, how many numbers do you have there?
It's 1.
One. Oh. How many can you see? Only one. Madam, how many can you see? One. And how many can you see?
7.
Hmm?
If we count 0, it's 7. But if you remove 0, it's 1.
Uh,
It's 1.
okay.